Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. I hope you guys are having a great morning so far as we're getting cranked up with our Wednesday, our hump day, trying to figure out what's going to happen with this weather system. I feel like the confidence has definitely increased on what is going to happen. So I'm going to give you a morning update on what's going on with the overnight model guidance and this morning's model guidance. And then tonight we'll do one last really detailed video comparing, contrasting model guidance on what's going to happen with this system, and then it'll be kind of a now thing what will be happening and unfolding right before our eyes. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Appreciate the amazing support. Great way to stay up to date with the latest and greatest information is my social media links over here. I've been kind of slacking on that the last several days. I've just been kind of taking a break with the social media stuff a little bit. Being kind of worn down on it. So I've just been kind of taking a break with posting non-stop. So I've been really just focused on my YouTube and getting these videos out for you guys. But if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over them. And it more importantly gives a lot of other people to do so too. And I feel like this is working. And I feel like this is a good thing we got going on. And I appreciate y'all using this platform as a way to do that. So let's get going here. This is the hazards out here. So basically anything in the blue is a winter storm watch. No winter storm warnings right now at the point of me making this video, which is around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The green is the flood watches. You got to watch out for some heavy rain. And then the this kind of sand color right here, this brownish tan color, this is a wind advisory. And then you got a high wind watch for areas of southern New England like southeastern Massachusetts and areas of Rhode Island. I really think this is going to be a big wind maker late Thursday night into Friday morning for you folks. So definitely prepare for some high winds, which I know that y'all are used to that kind of stuff up there with the nor'easters that happen all the time. Not all the time, but y'all know what I mean. Still got the slight risk. Nothing has uptrended as far as the Storm Prediction Center. They have not increased anything to an enhanced risk. Pretty much the same as last night. Slight risk, including Dallas, Oklahoma City. And then you have the tornado threat, which is even smaller than it was last night. And just a very small area that has a 5% chance to see a tornado at 25 miles in any given location in this area. This will be obviously the tornado threat of any severe weather event is obviously the most dangerous. But then you got to watch out for some high winds too, which will be there, especially as this low-level jet is really kicking up and these winds starting to mix the surface with some of these thunderstorms that do form in this area. Highlighted down here. We flip over to the day 2 risk, which is for our Thursday, and still just a really large area of a slight risk. I would not be surprised if somewhere upgrades to an enhanced risk somewhere in here, and then we get a 10% chance. Right now, a 5% chance of a tornado in this brown area of 25 miles in any given location. I wouldn't be surprised if something upgrades to maybe a 10% chance, but it's going to take some high confidence to do that, because when you start to get that 10 to 15% chance of a tornado of 25 miles at any given location, these areas, that's when it really becomes a big deal. And, you know, you'll end up dropping an enhanced risk if that happens. Hail threat is not that large in this area due to a lot of warm air aloft, and basically the lapse rates aren't that steep. So I don't think hail is going to be a big deal in these areas, but I do think there will be a wind threat, especially as this line unfolds. But let's take a look at the severe weather part of this first, and then we'll briefly talk about the winter weather part of it. Let's get going here. We're getting into this evening. This is getting into overnight. Storms erupt in the same area we've been talking about. I do think as this low pressure forms, well, not forms, but it starts to eject itself across areas of the Midwest and Ohio Valley and the South Central U.S. Well, I said all that backwards, but y'all know what I mean. You got these storms that develop here, and I think the biggest risk with these is maybe some hail with a cool pool of air coming down with a cold front coming down aloft. It's going to be cooling very quickly, so cold air aloft normally means a hail threat. I don't think you're going to have hail the size of golf balls and baseballs or anything like that, and I do think some of these could have some damaging wind to them, but I think just these will just be some cold temperatures. It'll probably be temperatures in the 50s, low 60s, probably just 50s, and just some elevated thunder, and probably just a little bit of hail. No big deal. But as this gets going here, you see this area of a lot of snow showing up right here in Kansas and this deformation band back in the panhandle of Oklahoma. These storms could produce right here. The low-level jet gets ramped up right in here, and we'll talk a little bit more of that tonight. And then these storms start to tap into some better kinematics, which is basically that element you need for like wind energy, and puts a spin in the atmosphere. So this is this brief area right here where you watch out for a tornado threat. The thermodynamics in this region are not that great, and it's really because it's happening into the early morning hours and the morning hours in general. So you don't have temperatures in the 70s and 80s. So, you have dew points that are supportive of severe weather, but really they're only in the upper 50s and low 60s in this range. But you still watch out. You watch out for some strong winds and a brief tornado threat with this. As we're getting going into your Thursday late morning, this is when we watch for the severe weather here, and we'll go on to switch over to the southeast, and we'll go on to fast forward here to your Thursday early morning, even early morning. Watch out in Arkansas. Thursday morning, I think there'll be some severe weather going on as this moist sector begins to build. Temperatures are starting to get into the 50s and 60s, but then you really watch around early afternoon for this area right in here as you're getting into western Tennessee, areas of northern Mississippi, even Louisiana. You see these little kidney beans down here where they're kind of doing that little hook. That's where you watch, for some storms that can try to get going here. Now, this looks to me like a broken line of storms getting into later Thursday afternoon in Mississippi, but this does look a little worrisome right here. You don't have super discrete storms that can really, discrete meaning they're all alone, they can take full advantage of what environment there is that's supportive for severe weather. But this does have a broken kind of signature to it as a broken line, and there can be some embedded tornadoes with this line of storms that moves through. One thing I'm noticing here is you got to wonder, is there going to be any messy convection out ahead of this line? If it does, it helps to stabilize the atmosphere ahead of this main piece of energy with this line of storms associated with the front. So you click a sounding ahead of the storm in east central Mississippi here, for example. You look at a sounding, and if you noticed, dew points do drop up here. There's a little bit more dry air, but in the low to getting into the mid levels, there is some pretty moist profile here. So aloft, you're dealing with a lot of moist air, which tells me that you're going to have moist air. So you're going to have a lot of messy convection, a lot of showers, maybe heavier showers out there, maybe ahead of this line of storms that might can help to stabilize the atmosphere. But if any of these storms, if this does not happen, this could trend significantly higher here inside the next 24 hours. So we watch to see how this trends. But this does to me look like an area of maybe some embedded tornadoes in this line of storms that can really produce. And, not to skip you guys in Kentucky and Tennessee, but you guys could see some severe weather also. I think the tornado threat will be more south as you're dealing with better thermodynamics and that low-level jet. But the low-level jet will probably be just as more ramped up here than it is down here. You're just dealing with lesser thermodynamics like better surface temperatures, like more moist air, things like that. But you're getting going here and you're getting into late evening. You watch out for some storms into Atlanta, North Georgia, but I think that this will lose that severe weather part. But I think this slight risk does extend into Atlanta. No, it doesn't, my bad. And not even close. But you do have a marginal risk into Atlanta for some severe weather, some strong winds possible. And we'll see how this holds together as it gets into the middle part of Georgia and then the Carolinas. I think it will get strung out and begin to kind of lose the severity level of how severe this could be. But we look at the significant tornado parameter from the HRRR model, and nothing gets super high. You get that elevated threat out here where you got values reaching that 1 to 2 to 2.5 range, maybe 3. Out of the STP, which is a significant tornado parameter. And then they spike again in that area I just mentioned along this line where you have values reaching around 1 to 2. But nothing looks super significant right here. I definitely do not think this will be a tornado outbreak. Let's talk about the winter weather part of this. What we're going to do is just focus on the European model because I feel like it's done the best. And then we're just going to look at what the National Weather Service is calling for. And then we'll briefly mention the wind threat for the southern New England. So we'll compare and contrast models tonight. I don't want to turn this into a 25-minute video of breaking down every single model guidance because I know a lot of people lose interest with that sometimes. But we're going to show you the South Central U.S. Got a little bit of hiccup action. That's why I'm pausing. Got the South Central U.S. What we got going on here is early as Thursday morning. I think you'll get some freezing rain starting to break out in areas of central Missouri. I don't think this would be a big freezing rain event, maybe a glaze at most, but the snow's starting to kick off as the cold air funnels in. Maybe a deformation band, an area of heavier banding snow might set up somewhere here in Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas. Low pressure's right here. European has been sold on this taking a more southern track. But as this gets going here, we're getting into later in the morning, tomorrow morning. I'm talking about, 8, 9 a.m. A band of heavier snow will pivot through central Missouri, maybe light to moderate snow for areas of north central Missouri. This has shifted a little further south, but the National Weather Service likes the axis of snow a little further north, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. But low pressure continues to scoot by. We'll go on and skip over to my folks right here in the Ohio Valley. I brain farted a little bit, and low pressure continues to scoot by. And then I really think there'll be a band of maybe some light wintry weather, light frozen precipitation early Thursday morning. It'll probably stop for areas like Chicago, things like that. And then there'll be a lull or a break in the precipitation. Then later Thursday afternoon, here we go. We got that heavy snow breaking out over areas of Illinois. If you're following, for example, the Euro, then St. Louis, I think y'all will deal with some wintry weather, and it could be heavy sleet, maybe some freezing rain, maybe ending in a brief period of snow for St. Louis. How much are y'all going to get? That's a big question for that area. But as you're looking at the Euro, a band of light to moderate snow will work its way into Chicago as early as tomorrow afternoon, and then this will continue into areas of the Ohio Valley, deeper into the Ohio Valley, like Ohio, with some icing showing up in northern Ohio, some snow in southern Michigan, and I think some snow will fall in areas of North Indiana tomorrow afternoon, with a little bit of ice and sleet in the central Indiana part. We'll see how far south this low pressure will track, but the latest really wants to bring some ice into places like Erie, Pennsylvania. I think areas like Pittsburgh will stay all rain, maybe ending as a brief period of maybe some sleet and snow, but no accumulations expected in that area. And then we take a look at the Northeast and what this looks like. We'll go on and fast forward this. And as we're going through here in time, mostly a wind-driven rain for areas of the interior Northeast. But I do think areas of the northern Northeast, or the northern interior Northeast, if you will. I mean, look at the track of this low pressure. It's scooting through the Northeast. It's not like you got a low pressure down here with cold air funneling in and it being just a monster of a storm. This isn't a monster of a storm as it is. Nothing's really phasing together. It's just a quick hitting, some heavier precipitation. But I do think the Great Lakes areas of on the other side of these Great Lakes here, bordering New York State and Canada, I think y'all are going to see a decent snow event from this for sure for y'all standards. But I do think northern Maine is north enough to see all frozen precipitation with this. And I do think after this storm being mainly all rain, this will switch to some snow at the back end of this as you're getting into your Friday morning. For folks into the mountainous areas of the Northeast and things like that. So let's take a look at snowfall accumulations based off the National Weather Service. Band of maybe as much as 3 to as much as 8 inches of snow stretching from eastern Kansas. I think Kansas City could get a few inches of snow at least. St. Louis, you got just north of y'all will see the most snow with this, but I think north central Missouri will see anywhere from 5 to 8 inches of snow for sure. And then there's going to be an area into Oklahoma that I think we'll get several inches of snow pretty quickly with a deformation band. Even watch areas of the northeast panhandle of Texas for some heavier snow. We'll take a look at the Ohio Valley, narrow corridor of snow. And I think it wants to give Dallas, dude, I cannot get my names right this morning. It wants to give Chicago areas of maybe 2 to 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 inches of snow. You just never know. Wherever this sets up is going to be a big question. But obviously you see the areas in that purple and really shades of pink. That's when you start to get over a half a foot of snow. And I think that'll be possible in areas of Missouri and north central Illinois, and then even areas of northern Indiana. And then I think this will be a moderate event for areas of southern Michigan, but nothing too crazy. Looking at the freezing rain for this area, I do think it'll just be mainly just a glaze. My thing is not working here. I think it'll be just mainly a glaze for this area. Nobody's going to get any more than maybe a 1/10 to a 15th of an inch of ice. Not a big deal for this area at all. Snowfall for Northeast. Not that big of a deal unless you're in the far northern areas, but I mean 8 inches of snow in this area of the country really isn't that huge of a deal. It's impactful, but not that big of a deal. Freezing rain, you do have to watch out for this for areas maybe getting close to Buffalo. Maybe a glaze, but I don't think it's going to cause a big deal. I really don't think it is. And maybe if this was falling in temperatures in like the teens and 20s, a glaze would be a big deal, but it's not going to be. The wind threat is big. Basically, you got this low-level jet that flies through here. Winds screeching at 70 to 80 knots about a mile up in the air. Some of these winds will mix to the surface in southern New England. Therefore, you will have wind speeds from 50 to 60, maybe 70 mile per hour wind gusts as your overnight. This will be an overnight thing, really. It's the worst overnight. So around midnight, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, winds are going to be going wild till late tomorrow night into Friday morning. So definitely have everything fastened down this area in southern New England. I know you all are used to these kind of winds, but Long Island, Massachusetts, you guys will have some strong winds out there for sure. So be careful with that. And even last into Friday morning, I think winds will calm down as you get into your Friday evening and start your weekend. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and make today great. Talk to y'all soon.